This is Mindy from The Weekend Gardener, and today I'm going to show you how to properly plant aloe vera. Now, many people plant aloe vera in a container that is not wide enough, and in doing so, once the plant gets root bound, it starts falling out the sides of the pot. And while that is great for sharing plant material, it can be a pain for the individual that's growing these plants indoors. So, a trick to growing aloe vera before we even begin is to make sure that you use a wide container. Aloe vera typically doesn't have a really long root, so the depth of the container isn't as important as the width. You will also need to make sure that you have a drainage hole, as we have here, and also make sure that you line the bottom prior to putting the soil in with some type of drainage material or a coffee filter. Now, as far as the soil goes, regular potting soil is too rich for an aloe vera, and an aloe vera is considered a succulent because the leaves of the aloe vera are quite thick, and they do have a waxy coating, and those are two characteristics of any plant that is in the succulent family. Now, the best type of potting soil mixture that you can get is you can either buy one that's for cactus and or succulents, or you can make your own. And to make your own, you simply use 1 part garden soil, 1 part construction sand, and 1 part peat moss. And this is what I have right here. If it seems a little on the rich side, you can add a little more sand because a succulent doesn't like to have really moist soil, so you want the water to be absorbed and then the excess to run out as quickly as possible. So let's begin the planting process. As you see, I have some pot shards from a clay pot that broke, and I'm going to make sure, number one, that I cover up the drainage hole. And then I'm just going to sporadically put some of these pieces in the bottom of the pot. Now, this will also add some weight to the container since this pot is plastic. Another key point, prior to doing any type of planting in a container, make sure that you have thoroughly washed and sterilized the container. And the directions for that were covered in another video in The Weekend Gardener, so check out that video if you're not sure how to do that process. Once you have your drainage material in the container, you're going to put your soil, whether you made it or you bought it. Now, since we're going to be planting these starts and not an entire plant, I'm going to fill it up to within an inch of the top rim, and that gives enough space for when I water. And you will need to water an aloe vera. Even though it's a succulent, it does require some watering. Now, the next step of the process in the aloe vera, you want to make sure that you plant it deep enough to cover these roots, and actually you're going to want to plant it to about the first leaf if you're planting starts such as this. And these were shoots that were actually hanging out of the side of someone's container where they didn't use a container that was wide enough to hold the plant. If you have some plants as you're planting that just won't stay up or they're pulling themselves out of the soil, a hint is that you can use a hairpin or a grading pin, and you can gently push that down into the soil. Don't puncture the roots when you do this, but it just supports the plant and helps push it down until the roots can grab hold of that soil. And once that happens, you can remove that structure from your container. So you're just going to plant your aloe vera wherever you would like in your container, and it will shortly begin to fill in the space. Now, as far as care goes, if you're putting your aloe vera outside in the summertime, you need to water it about once every 2 weeks if you haven't had any natural rain. If you're growing it inside, you will need to water it once every 3 weeks to once every month. Now, as far as the light, aloe veras like a lot of light, but their leaves are easily burned if you put them in direct sunlight like I'm in right now. So indirect sunlight is a great choice for an aloe vera plant. Aloe veras are very easy to grow. Just make sure that you're not watering them too much. If you notice the leaves beginning to turn a little brown and squishy, that means that they're grounding and you need to back off on the water. So give aloe vera a try. It's a very easy house plant to grow. So until we meet in the garden again, this has been Mindy from The Weekend Gardener.